So we are now moving on to our next section of the agenda and the theme, from how we harness technology for good to how do we scale responsibly and not lose sight of our purpose and of our mission to grow. Our next panel will look at how we shape the next generation of financial services by reflecting on the people we serve, ensuring proper governance and a positive, inclusive culture as we grow our companies is a non-negotiable for the continued success of the industry. So now, we're going to hear from industry leaders who are paving the way in responsible scaling and developing diverse teams. And I'm so pleased to introduce Joanne Dewar, who is the ambassador for the Payments Association and also the former CEO of Global Processing Services. Joanne, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Rashi. And I'm delighted to welcome here a wonderful selection of panelists. As Rashi says, we're changing topics somewhat. But it all relates massively to doing well by doing good. So I'd like to invite you each to just introduce yourselves briefly, and then we'll get straight into it, because we've got a lot to talk about and not much time. Simone.
Thanks very much. My name is Simone Maini. I'm the CEO of a company called Elliptic. And at Elliptic, we build solutions to help detect and disrupt financial crime in cryptocurrencies specifically. So we're basically a data and intelligence company bringing trust and transparency to crypto.
Hello, I'm Mark. I'm one of the founders and the chief executive of Atom Bank. We're based in Durham. We employ about 540 people. We lend money to mortgage borrowers and offer savings accounts to savers, and we support small businesses. I think we've got a balance sheet of about £8.5 billion.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Tom Shave. I'm the head of growth at Evelyn Partners. Evelyn Partners is quite a unique organisation. It's both an investment management business and a professional services firm. I'm responsible for looking after the FinTech practice at Evelyn and also our financial wellbeing proposition. We support FinTechs with growing their businesses, and then on the financial wellbeing side, looking after employees' financial wellbeing, which is something that we feel very passionate about.
Good afternoon, pleasure to be here. My name's Derren Powell. I work for Mastercard, where I lead Mastercard's business development effort for FinTech within UK and Ireland. That's very much focused on those purpose-centric, purpose-driven FinTechs who are looking to launch, scale, and evolve and ideate a card proposition at their core.
Brilliant, thank you very much all. And so diving straight in, Simone, if I can come to you first. How do you think about the diversity of your team and the impact that it makes?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's something that's really, really important to us, both to kind of create that inside the company, but also to connect it really closely to the mission of the company. I mean, Elliptic exists because we really believe strongly in crypto and blockchain-based transfer of value as the next generation of financial systems. And so if we're building the next kind of version of finance, we have to make sure that we're reflecting all of the people out there that we're building crypto for. So it kind of, for us, comes full circle. It's the right thing to do, but it also directly reflects against our mission and making sure that crypto is able to fulfill its promise. You know, a lot of the team come to Elliptic and want to be in the crypto industry because they believe really strongly in the vision of crypto, that it is completely decentralized, it is borderless, there are no barriers to entry. It's not necessarily something that we focus on so much in the UK and other Western economies, where it is more straightforward to get access to a bank account, but in many jurisdictions in the world, that is really, really difficult. And so being able to set up a crypto wallet with no intermediary in between that's going to decide whether you are worthy of having access to financial services or not is a really core part of what crypto is all about. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to building diversity in our team, that takes many, many different forms. We don't really focus on any one or two specific types of diversity. We really start with the idea that you bake it into your culture right from the beginning. And if you can create an environment where people can really feel like they can bring their best selves to work, and that you create that psychological safety, you're going to create an environment by default that encourages people of all sorts of background to come and work with us.
Yeah, no, that's so important. Mark, with Atom being based in the Northeast, diversity's sort of quite different to businesses being based in London, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's not as metropolitan-centric a region as other parts of the UK. And we very deliberately based the bank in the Northeast, specifically to headquarter a company there, and to try and create high-quality employment opportunities in a region that doesn't have as many businesses, frankly, if you like, headquartered. So, for example, we're the largest private employer in Durham, and which is extraordinary considering that we've only been in business. We only founded the company 9 years ago, and it sort of gives you an idea of the challenges. But it does mean that you've got a sort of a duality between trying to reflect your customers, because our customers are obviously from all around the UK, but also trying to reflect your region and trying to serve the region and discharge one of the core objectives of the company, which is to create employment in that region. And they're not necessarily consistent at all.
Absolutely. And Derren, with Mastercard, you've got the benefits of scale as well as sort of real sort of mission focus. What are some of the activities that you've got going on within Mastercard?
So I think, there's a number, right? But I think before talking about maybe some of those, it's to acknowledge that, culture for us is underpinned by decency, and decency has to be at its core. So I think understanding your audience, engaging that audience, both internally and externally, allows you to partner. And I think it was Phil and Kim earlier were talking, on the little and large segue, we're talking about the power of partnerships and the enablement and the ability to make some wonderful things happen. We're very much an enabler. Technology first, of course, but by working with some extremely interesting and highly innovative partners and some of the technologies we develop, it allows us to bring things to market like TrueName. That's now being pushed out into over 50 countries. The notches on cards in terms of that multi-sensory sort of capability. And also looking to partner with FinTechs who are serving a very specific niche or where a particular problem exists, to bring those that are either financially vulnerable, maybe financially marginalized and or excluded into the economy. So an example of that could be, working with some of our credit unions, like in QSO as an example, or with Sibstar, which is very much targeting at those living with and through dementia.
That's brilliant, thank you. And in terms of what you mentioned about partnerships being so important, and so it's about the B2B as well as the B2C. Tom, your business is all about partnerships and supporting customers. One of the things you've been really focused on is supporting your customers on their well-being, haven't you? Their financial well-being and how the employees are looked after.
Yeah, thanks, Joanne. I think it's a really interesting title. I mean, we talk about reflecting the people that we serve, and when we think about the people that we serve, it's not just our customers, but also as an industry, it's about the talent that we have in our teams. And I think when you listen to what FinTechs and other businesses are often struggle with, it's about talent. And for us, thinking about how we could support employees was something that we felt we could really make a difference with. And when we started to think about that in a bit more detail, actually, if you look at what causes problems in your employee base, it's often stress. And stress can be caused by many different things. But actually, a lot of research shows that for 60% of adults in the UK, money is the number one cause of stress. And actually 25% of adults every single day worry about money. And if you're an employer, that means that many of your employees will be worrying about their financial position. We also believe that there hasn't been enough financial education in the UK, and there isn't enough done in early years right through to people once they get into the workforce. And when you think about who individuals trust, who people trust, employers are very high on that list. And so if employers take a much better stance in educating their employee base with financial education, with financial well-being, they'll not only benefit themselves from reduced stress in their workforce, hopefully lower turnover of staff, but also really help those employees that they serve. And so that's why we think it's something that we as an organisation, but financial services as an industry should really focus on this as a topic that we can all make a difference on.
And then employee satisfaction, as it were, and employee retention, we measure that with employee net promoter score, which I think it's no coincidence that it's the same type of measure as our net promoter score for our customers. What are each of you doing to look at that, and are they intrinsically linked? Simone, maybe I can come to you.
Yeah, so we measure both customer NPS and employee NPS, and I think you're absolutely right in terms of the question that the two things are really linked. I think you're not going to have, if you haven't got a happy team serving your customers, you're not going to have happy customers. So that's, we really do start with, and kind of, I love what you just said there about, you know, it really does start with your team. Like that's the stakeholder group that we think about first and foremost, because they're the people that are building the products, serving the customers. And if that group of people don't feel really aligned with the mission, they don't feel heard, then you can't expect to have an influence on your customer satisfaction. So for us, eNPS is something that we do very regularly, but it can't just be a survey that's sent out and some numbers come back. And actually, we resisted having an employee NPS survey for quite a long time until we felt like we are at the scale where we have got the team that can actually do something with the feedback that we get. And so, you know, we're a small company, we're about 200 people, but it was really important for us to say, if we're going to solicit your feedback, we better be prepared to do something about it. And it's really now in the last kind of 18 months that we've really been in a position to do that.
And Mark, we were talking about the fact that these things can evolve as you scale, because the employee base that you have in 3 years' time is not necessarily the employee base that you have today, even as a fast-growing business.
No, it's often forgotten, actually, and my strategy director sort of reminded me that if you look 3 years out in Atom, then somewhere between 20 and 40% of the employees that will work for us in 3 years' time don't work for us today, which is just about growth and attrition. Yeah, so it's quite profound if you think about the opportunity that you have to influence the way your company, one, is composed and what it does, actually quite radically, just because time passes. Because it is quite difficult to change the people you have, but it isn't as difficult to change the people that you can bring in, and that can make a profound difference to the company. Equally, I'm a huge fan of you can't fake it culturally. If you don't give a damn about each other, you can't create a company that truly gives a damn about customers. So everyone who joins Atom has to endure the torture of meeting me, everyone. And not because I have some great wisdom, but just because I want them to feel that they bloody matter to the company. And equally, we also torture them with NPS scores. And I think last time out, we were plus 81 on employees and plus 88 on customers. So there's definite room for improvement in the company. And you know, we're ears to the ground, as it were, in trying to figure out what to do next.
I think you're absolutely right. And it's the authenticity of this, isn't it? It just can't be faked. What's happening from your perspective, Derren, within Mastercard on this?
So I think it's important to acknowledge, you know, the internal shop needs to absolutely be aligned before the external one can be given any sort of credence or time. I think, you know, we are extremely proud to be named within Fortune's most admired companies, you know, best place to work. And, you know, there's a reason for that. You know, the client satisfaction, whether that's the internal client as well as the external client, is integral. I think, you know, I'm also, you know, really keen to get your perspectives as well. You know, there's a lot you've done, there's a lot you are doing, you know, both as a leader, as an ambassador within the space. And I think it would only be right for you to share some of your thoughts and some of the people you work with today and in the past that bring that ultimately to life on a daily basis.
Yeah, thanks, Derren. So just to sort of shed a little light, so as CEO, and you'll know this as a female CEO, sort of gender diversity was there by definition. And I had the real opportunity to be quite progressive in our D&I strategies. To the point that 18 months ago, I recruited somebody who's here in the audience, Chris Foster. Chris, please just stand up a moment, say hi. So Chris joined the business 18 months ago, and as a deliberate move towards disability inclusion, and what he brought to the business blew me away. It had such a profound impact on everyone in the organization, and it really changed my perception of, relative value, relative contribution of anybody in the workplace, to the point that now I refocus my time to focus on promoting disability inclusion in the workplace. So thanks, Derren, for giving me the opportunity to explain that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And Chris, absolute legend of the space and a real gent as well. So great you could be here with us today. I think, if I may, something to also maybe reflect upon is, as a company, as an organization, there's a lot we do in terms of giving back, giving people time to give back, to think, to reflect upon what are they passionate about within this DEI space. As an example, volunteering. Everyone talks about mindfulness and well-being, but how is that truly playing out within organizations? I think there's a lot of tangibles that Mastercard do to both enable their worker population, and to follow through with, again, where we started with decency at its core.
Just one point to note on staff surveys and NPS scores. I think when organisations go out and do these, often when they get the feedback back, there's so much focus on the negative coming out of the surveys, and what we're not doing right, and we need to do more on this. But I would encourage organisations that are doing lots of things right, to get things in the 80%. There's lots of things going right, and we need to understand as organisations what are those things that are doing right, and not lose sight of those things, and continue to do those both for our customers and for our employees. One of my colleagues described it as, when you get feedback, it's like cheese. Don't focus on the hole. Don't focus on the holes. Look at the hole. So I would encourage you all to do that as well.
And I think I totally agree. And I think culture is also about the little things, isn't it? It's fantastic. Innovate Finance here today. There are two employees who are on maternity leave that have used today as a day to reconnect with the team, and their little ones are either around just about outside. I mean, it's just a fantastic example of something that's quite little to do, but actually speaks volumes, doesn't it? So, as just parting thoughts, just a more open question as to what you think is reflective of good governance and culture. Simone.
So for us, it maybe sounds a bit trite, but it's really hard to achieve, which is just creating trust. This kind of goes back to our mission in crypto as well. Like, blockchains are trustless, and that kind of lives all the way through our culture as well. So we have, as most companies have these days, a number of values which underpin our culture, and we take those values and we define behaviors around them. Because we have a value of openness, but I'm sure there are at least 5 other companies in this room that also have a value of openness. But what that means to us is something very specific. So we define what openness means at Elliptic by saying there are 3 behaviors that we look for. And we have those 5 values and we have those behaviors, but you can distill all of that down, whether it's openness, whether it's empowerment. You don't have any of those values unless you have trust. And so that is something that's very, very core to our culture. We're a 10-year-old business this year. We've been working on it for 10 years, and we've still got at least 10 years worth more work to do on it. And I think that's going to be a never-ending, but really a mission that I feel really, really strongly about as the CEO of a young company.
Brilliant, thank you. Mark?
So a couple, one thought really. Our biggest question at the moment is how do we not become the thing that we were designed to challenge and resist? Because it's inevitable as you get bigger that the lines of communication extend and the frequency of interaction changes. And of course, that's not been helped by COVID and post-COVID working and hybrid working and all that stuff. You know, and I'm incidentally a 40-week employer and bloody proud of it, so I'm not requiring people to be coming back to the office anytime soon. But nonetheless, you've got to be realistic about how you build culture through a period of turbulence and change and growth, so that you don't end up becoming corporate, but you do at the same time have to mature. Yeah, you can't have the sort of Wild West that you had when you were young because it's other people's money, because you're running a bloody serious company and all that goes with it. I think what you've just said, Simone, resonates very strongly. It's not the truth that hurts, it's the lies. And so the sort of watchword is really try and be as bloody transparent with your employees and your colleagues as you possibly can, because they'll forgive you for telling the truth, but they'll never bloody forgive you for telling lies. The same is true, incidentally, of customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom, any final thoughts?
Thanks. I would say it's about treating your employees and your customers as individuals. So I think it's a similar point. As you scale, it's hard not to just start grouping everyone together in buckets and thinking more broadly, rather than actually thinking at from a personal level. Right? How is each person different and individual, and how can we help serve that individual?
Derren.
Thanks. And for me, you know, it's, you know, have a think about how do we drive equity and representation? How do we sort of show, because there's so many areas that we can duck into, whether it's thinking about girls in tech, whether it's, you know, empowerment for within women's leadership, whether it's a commitment to solidarity, you know, being a voice and a strong voice on important issues such as immigration, LGBTQ+, gender equity, etc. But I think more importantly, it's doing it with authenticity, doing it with purpose, and doing it consistently.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And I think from my perspective as well, it's are we asking the right questions, and are we really listening? And again, it's true for both employees and customers, isn't it? So with that, thank you very much to Simone, Mark, Tom, and Derren. Thank you.